The movie starts with Julia, a young woman from America, arriving in Bucharest, Romania, with her new husband, Francis. They just got married, and Francis's job has brought them here. Julia doesn't know the local language, so she can't understand the chat between Francis and their taxi driver. When they reach their new apartment, Julia notices someone looking at her from a window nearby. She ignores it and follows Francis inside. The landlord shows them around the place. Their apartment has a big window that faces another building, so they can clearly see into the homes across the street. That night, Julia can't sleep. She stands by the window to relax, but again, she sees the same person watching her from the other building. She tries to ignore it and goes to bed. The next morning, Francis leaves a note saying he didn't want to wake her. Julia spends a day doing house chores until she hears loud music and shouting from the neighbor next door. Over the next few days, she tries to learn Romanian and explore the city, but not knowing the language makes her feel lonely and bored. One day, she's at the window again and sees the same man watching her. She doesn't tell Francis about it. That evening, they go out and enjoy themselves. On the way back, they see a street blocked by police and an ambulance parked there. A man is sitting inside the ambulance, but no one knows what happened. Later, the news says a woman's body was found nearby, and the man they saw earlier was the one who discovered it. The thought of a killer being close makes Julia uneasy, so she finally tells Francis about the man across the street. Francis doesn't take it seriously and tells her to make dinner for his co-workers who are visiting that night. During dinner, Francis's co-worker Simon talks about the murder and says there's a rumor the victim was beheaded. He also says another woman was killed last month with her throat cut, and the police think a serial killer called the Spider might be behind both crimes. Later, Julia takes out the trash and meets her neighbor Irina, who apologizes for being noisy the other day and says Julia can tell her if it happens again. The next day, Julia reads a newspaper naming the latest victim. She searches for more details in English and learns that a serial killer really is in the city. She watches an interview with a woman who survived. The woman says the killer followed her for days, broke in her home, covered her face with a pillow so she couldn't breathe, and cut her throat, then sat next to her while she was bleeding. This makes Julia even more scared, and she starts feeling like someone is following her in the city. To relax, she goes to see an English movie at the theater. But in the middle of the film, a man comes in and sits right behind her, even though there are plenty of empty seats. She can't see his face well, but when he leans toward her, she gets scared and leaves right away. Another day, Julia goes to the grocery store, but her heart races when she sees a man who looks just like the one watching her. She gets so startled that she knocks over a jar of pickles while backing away and hides in the supply room. She notices him looking in her direction. Before anything happens, a store worker walks in angrily about the mess, and Julia quickly slips out the back door. This makes her too scared to go out normally. That night, she tells Francis what happened, and they go back to the store to check the security camera footage. Julia takes a picture of the man from the screen, but Francis still doesn't believe her. He says she might have made the man uncomfortable by staring at him first, and thinks it's just a misunderstanding. After that, Julia hardly leaves the apartment. One night, she hears loud banging on her door. When she opens it, an old woman is speaking quickly in Romanian, and Julia can't understand her. Luckily, Irina comes and explains that the woman's cat is missing and she needs help. After sending the woman away, Irina invites Julia into her apartment for a drink. They chat for a while, but then there's loud pounding on Irina's door. It's her ex-boyfriend yelling in Romanian. Irina handles him and comes back, saying she's fine. She even shows Julia a gun he gave her for protection. Later, back in her own apartment, Julia decides to test herself. Maybe she's just imagining things. She goes to the window and sees the man standing there again. This time, Julia waves at the man across the street. To her shock, he waves back. Her stomach feels tight with fear. When Francis gets home, she begs him to call the police. A patrol officer comes by, but both he and Francis say the man hasn't done anything illegal. Francis even says it's not strange if the man was at the same grocery store as her. Julia feels upset and ignored, and the two argue. The next day, Julia sees the man in the city. Without thinking, she follows him. He walks into an underground strip club where she finds out he works as a cleaner. She's even more surprised to see Irina dancing there. Irina tells her the cleaners change every day and she's never seen this man before, but she promises to keep an eye out for him. That night, Julia dreams that the man is inside her apartment, attacking her. She wakes up suddenly when she hears a scream from Irina's apartment. Thinking something's wrong, Julia runs to the landlady for help. When they unlock Irina's door, the apartment is empty, except for a cat. The elderly neighbor insists the cat must have made the noise. Later, the landlady complains to Francis about Julia, saying she doesn't want problem tenants. Francis apologizes to Julia and says he understands why she's been so jumpy lately. The next day, Julia calls Irina's workplace to check on her, but no one there knows where she is. Later, Julia sees a man standing outside Irina's door. It's her bad-tempered ex-boyfriend. She tells him about Irina disappearing and asks for her phone number. When they call, a ringtone comes from inside Irina's empty apartment. The sound makes Julia feel sick. She convinces the ex-boyfriend to go with her to the building across the street to find the man she saw at the club. He bangs on a door and yells threats in Romanian, warning the tenant to stay away from Julia. No one answers, and he leaves in a hurry, telling Julia to call him if she learns anything. Julia knocks on the door herself. An old man answers, looking scared after all the shouting. She realizes she's got the wrong person and starts to leave, but then she comes face to face with the creepy man from her window. Her heart races. She runs to the elevator and leaves without looking back. That night, there's a knock on her door. The same police officer from before is there, and so is the man from the grocery store. He tells the officer that Julia and Francis have been bothering him and his sick father, and he even wants to press charges. The officer calms things down and gets them to shake hands before leaving. Later, Francis tells Julia some good news. The serial killer in the city has been caught. When Julia sees the photo, she's shocked. It's the same man they saw in the ambulance the night of the first murder. Reports say he has a criminal past and once worked for the victim. Francis thinks this means Julia can stop worrying about the man across the street. To cheer her up, Francis takes Julia to his office party. At first, things go well, until his coworker Simon makes a joke about Julia keeping herself busy with a spider, the killer's nickname. Julia notices other people smirking in Romanian and realizes they're laughing at her. Embarrassed, she storms out. Francis follows but says he's tired of her paranoia and wild ideas, then walks away. Julia takes the train home alone. Her blood runs cold when she sees the creepy man, Weber, sitting a few seats away. The train suddenly stops, and he moves to sit right in front of her. In a calm voice, he tells her why he stares. Caring for his father and cleaning for work makes his life boring, so he passes the time watching strangers. No one ever noticed him until she waved that night. That moment excited him, and now he wants to be her friend. Julia notices a plastic bag beside him, and it makes her uneasy. She excuses herself, gets off the train early, and rushes home. Inside, she starts packing her bags. She's had enough of Francis not believing her. As she zips her suitcase, music starts playing from Irina's apartment. Julia goes next door to check. The door is unlocked. She steps inside and freezes. Inside Irina's apartment, Julia is frozen in horror. Irina's body is lying there without a head. Before she can move, someone grabs her from behind. When she wakes up, she's tied to a chair. Weber is standing in front of her, speaking calmly, like nothing is wrong. He admits that he killed Irina days ago and had hidden her body in the closet when Julia and the landlady were looking for her. Suddenly, Julia hears sound from next door. Francis has come home. She tries to scream for help, but Weber cuts her throat to shut her up. Julia falls to the floor, gasping for air, and starts crawling toward Irina's gun, the one her ex-boyfriend had given her. She's only a few inches away when her body feels too weak to move. Weber lies down next to her, almost gently, waiting for her to die. In the apartment next door, Francis calls Julia's phone and hears it ringing from Irina's apartment. Across the street, a young girl watches everything from her window. Weber notices her and steps into the hallway. probably to deal with the witness. But when he opens the door, he runs right into Francis. Before Weber can react, loud gunshots fill the hallway. He falls to the floor, shot several times. The shooter is Julia, covered in blood but still alive. She had only pretended to pass out earlier. As Weber lies still, Francis looks at his wife in shock. For the first time, he understands she had been right about him all along.